Welcome back. We saw a little while ago that Abraham was the central figure of all three of the major religions, and how the warring tribes and how Ishmael and Isaac had separated. Ishmael became the Arabs and Isaac became the Hebrews. We saw how that was the basis of belief there. In the second segment, we learned that that the prophets, a lot of the prophets that the Muslims revere, are also the same prophets that the Jews and the Christians revere. So we have a good basis of working from there. In the third segment, we learned about some of the differences and some of the similarities between the Quran and the Christian Bible. And in this segment, we're going to learn that we all use extra-canonical commentaries. The Jews, they have the Gemara and they have the Mishnah. Christians, we like to read Matthew Henry and Vines and different people like that. Well, the Muslims, they also have extra-canonical writings called the Hadith. And what they are is they are kind of like interpretations of the Quran. Now, Islam, it's an Arabic word, and the Arabic word of Islam, it actually has several different meanings. It means peace, it means greeting, it means obedience, it means loyalty, it means allegiance. But the word Islam in its direct translation means submission to God. And a Muslim, the word Muslim, means one who is submitted to God. That's what those two words mean, but it's an Arabic word. You don't see the Quran written in German and French and English. They are called translations of the Quran. We have the German Bible, the Spanish Bible, the French Bible, all these different Bibles, but we still call it the Bible. Anybody who is a Muslim, if they are going to read the Quran, they must learn Arabic. The Quran is only written and spoken in Arabic. It is not spoken in any other language. However, when the Imams and when the teachers of the Quran from Muhammad's days, to now, the revered teachers are the same as the revered rabbis in the Jewish religion, and as the same as people like Matthew Henry. He's revered in the Christian religion. We look at their writings and we hold them up to the Bible, and the Jews have what's called the Mishnah and the Gemara, and they hold that up to the Torah, while the Muslims have the Hadith, and they hold that up to the Quran. However, the Mishnah and the Gemara, the Torah and the English commentaries, they are just that. They are a commentary. What somebody thinks is what the Quran and the Torah and the Bible is saying, and gives guidance on how to live. The Quran, the Torah, and the Bible. It gives a human's perspective on what it says. And when the Hadith is read, if it is, there are many Hadiths, by the way. There are not just the one. There are many Hadiths. You have the Shia religion, and you have the Sunni religion. It's all Muslim, but it's two major offshoots. The reason for the major offshoot is because when Muhammad died, he didn't leave an heir. And the Shia believe that it should have been this person taken over from Muhammad, and the Sunnis believe it should have been this person, and they have not been able to agree pretty much from day one. So when you talk to a Muslim and you find out whether they are a Shia or whether they are a Sunni, there are other small offshoots and other sects, but they are kind of small. These two, the Shia and the Sunni, they are the major two. They each have their own hadith because they each interpret when Muhammad died, the person who kind of led off in the Shia realm, he wasn't approved of by the Sunni realm, so anything he has to say is pretty much worthless, and vice versa. And anything that the Sunni offshoot has to say is pretty much worthless. So when you talk to a person and you ask them, is that in your Quran? and they say, well, no, and then ask them, okay, if you already know, are they Shia or are they Sunni? Ask them, is that in one of their hadith? If it's a Sunni Muslim, ask them if it's in one of their hadith, and then ask them to quote which hadith that's from. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go out and go buy all the, all the the Sunni hadith and the Shia hadith. I'm suggesting that as you study this further, this course is not by any stretch of the imagination an extremely in-depth study. This is just to give you an idea of what's really out there, so that you know how to pray and you know where God is leading you to witness to these to the Muslims. I have a brother down in New Mexico. He came back from the Gulf War, and he had a bitter hatred for years of Arabs, Muslims, but Arabs as well. And he wouldn't talk to them. He wouldn't say nice things to them. He just totally he hated them with a passion. And one day God asked him, "Why do you hate my people?" The brother said to God, "What do you mean, why do I hate your people? I don't hate your people. I love your people." And he said, "I love the Jews. I love the Christians." He says, "Yeah, but the Arabs are my people." He said, "They're flesh and blood from Abraham. You're hating my people." And that kind of shocked him to the point where he now is understanding where they're coming from. So now when he sees a Muslim, he likes to be able to talk to them on their level, instead of trying to, be up so high. Well, we have the truth and you have a lie. As you've seen, we all agree on many things. So what our job is to be like a Priscilla and Aquila, is to go up to a Muslim who are very religious people, more so than Christians. Unfortunately, I would have to say some real Christians, they're not as dedicated to their prayer life. They're not as dedicated to their giving. They're not as dedicated to their fasting as some Muslims are. So it's not that they're all lost and have no truth whatsoever. When you read about how their Quran is written, when you read about how their people have interpreted the Quran, and it's a guidance for a way of life. This is what you don't do with women. This is what you do with children. This is how you treat animals. Remember that there are radicals in every religion. I don't care what religion you're in, there are radicals in every religion. But when we understand where Muslims are coming from, when we don't have to agree with where they're coming from, but when we understand where they're coming from, then we have an opportunity to talk to them and not shut the door when we open up our mouth. So God wants us to look at what they're doing. Read some of their material. You don't have to become a scholar. You just have to understand that when they are talking to you, they are talking to you out of a love for God, as you are talking to them out of a love for God. So find things on the website that explain, if a Muslim asks you a question and you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, "Hey, I don't know, but let me find out and I'll get back to you." Then go online. Talk to, maybe your pastor knows some things. If not, there are other resources of how to, more in depth, of how to share the gospel with a Muslim. Do your homework, because these are souls. You have to remember, okay, they may be different to us in that they wear different clothes, they speak a different language. But remember, all three religions started in the Middle East. So in essence, we're the ones who are the strangers. We have to understand that when they talk to people, they talk to them out of a love for God. And yes, there are those people who are fanatics and will do stupid things. Majority of them not like that. They just love God but don't know how to. Let us be a Priscilla and Aquila and show them a more excellent way. An example is Paul. He said, "I become all things to all men that I might win some." He studied the philosophy of the times back then. He went to Mars Hill. He went to their temple, and he walked up and down, and he said to the people there, "I perceive that you are a very religious people." The word religious there in the Greek is superstitious. But he said, I perceive you're religious. And then he walked along and he saw the the platform to Mars and to Zeus and to all these different gods. And then he was able to talk to them on their level about their gods. In fact, he even quoted from 3 Greek philosophers from 600 years before Paul was born. He quoted it from that time because that's what they knew, and he put that to God. He said, this God, it's in him we live and breathe and have our being. That was actually a small section from a poet from 600 BC. Paul knew about it, and they knew about it. And then he said, what your poet said there, this God here that you're worshiping, the unknown God, this is the one I'm talking about. So it's okay to learn about other people's religion and other people's way of looking at things, the way they dress. Why do they dress the way they dress? Is it just purely philosophical? Is it because of the temperature of the weather there? We can't judge a person by what we see. And even God says, you judge them by the outside, but I judge them by the inside. And so we must learn their ways. And one way to learn is ask them, what does your Quran say? And if they ask you and you don't know, tell them straight up, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know, but let me find out and I'll get back to you. We'll see you in the next lesson.